The last photograph, July 1988. A 10-year-old girl rides her bike to the park. She never comes home. No body, no ransom, no witnesses. For 12 years, her mother lives in a purgatory of not knowing, between hope and despair, between searching and mourning. Then, in the summer of 2000, a truck driver finds something in a rest stop bathroom that changes everything. A Polaroid photograph showing two children bound and terrified in what appears to be the back of a van. One of them is unmistakably her daughter, 12 years older, but alive. The photograph ignites a nationwide manhunt. What investigators uncover is far worse than a single kidnapping. They discover a network that has been operating for decades, stealing children from small towns across America, erasing their identities, and selling them into a nightmare that most people refuse to believe exists. This isn't just a story about finding one missing girl. It's about exposing a system so carefully hidden that even when victims tried to leave clues, photographs, scratched messages, desperate signals, no one saw them. Until now. Before we begin, subscribe, because what you're about to hear will shatter everything you thought you knew about missing children cases in America. Part 1. The Disappearance. Clearwater, Washington, July 15, 1988. The Morrison family lived in a blue Victorian house on Elm Street, the kind of neighborhood where kids still played outside until the streetlights came on, where everyone knew their neighbors' names, and where nothing bad was supposed to happen. Lily Morrison was 10 years old. She had wild auburn hair that refused to stay in braids, freckles across her nose, and an old Nikon camera her grandfather had given her for her 9th birthday. She was obsessed with photography, always taking pictures of everything. Birds, clouds, her younger brother making funny faces, the way sunlight hit puddles after rain. That Friday afternoon, Lily asked her mother if she could ride her bike to Riverside Park to take photos of the ducks. "Be home by 6 for dinner," Jennifer Morrison said, not looking up from the groceries she was unpacking. "I will," Lily called, already halfway out the door. Jennifer heard the screen door slam. Through the kitchen window, she watched Lily pedal down the street, camera bag bouncing against her hip, red hair streaming behind her. That was the last time Jennifer Morrison saw her daughter. By 6:30, Jennifer was worried. By 7, she was calling neighbors. By 7:30, she and her husband David were driving through the neighborhood, calling Lily's name. At 8:15 p.m., they found Lily's bike. It was lying in the grass near the park entrance, not crashed or damaged, just carefully placed on its side. Lily's camera bag was still attached to the handlebars. Inside were her lunch remains, a notebook, and 3 rolls of undeveloped film. But no camera, and no Lily. The police were called. Search teams formed. Volunteers combed every inch of Riverside Park and the surrounding woods. They dragged the river. They knocked on doors. They interviewed everyone who'd been at the park that afternoon. No one had seen anything unusual. No screams, no struggles, no suspicious vehicles. It was as if Lily Morrison had simply vanished into thin air. Detective James Carter led the investigation. He was a 20-year veteran of the Clearwater Police Department, methodical, thorough, and haunted by every unsolved case he'd ever worked. "Missing children don't just disappear," he told his team during the first briefing. "Someone saw something. Someone knows something. We just have to find them." But as days turned into weeks, the leads dried up. A few reported sightings, a girl matching Lily's description at a gas station in Idaho, another at a mall in Oregon, but none panned out. The most promising lead came from a park maintenance worker named Frank Ellis. He'd been trimming hedges near the parking lot around 4 p.m. when he noticed a white conversion van parked in the far corner, unusual because the lot was mostly empty that day. "There was a man sitting in the driver's seat," Frank told police. "Just sitting there, not doing anything. I remember thinking it was odd. He had dark hair, sunglasses, maybe in his 40s. The van had some kind of logo on the side, but I couldn't make it out from where I was." Police put out a bulletin for white conversion vans. They received hundreds of tips. None led anywhere. 6 weeks after Lily disappeared, Detective Carter held a press conference. Standing beside Jennifer and David Morrison, Both looking hollow-eyed and devastated, he announced that the case was being reclassified. "We have no evidence that Lily ran away," Carter said carefully. "We have no evidence of an accident. We have to consider that Lily was abducted." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Jennifer collapsed into her husband's arms, sobbing. The national media picked up the story. Lily's face appeared on news broadcasts and milk cartons. The Morrisons appeared on talk shows, pleading for information. A $50,000 reward was offered. But as autumn turned to winter and winter to spring, the tips slowed to a trickle. The media moved on. The volunteers stopped showing up for searches. By the first anniversary of Lily's disappearance, most people in Clearwater had accepted that she was gone, probably dead. Another tragic statistic. Everyone except Jennifer Morrison. She refused to accept it. She kept Lily's room exactly as it had been. She organized monthly vigils. She hired private investigators with money the family didn't have. She plastered missing person flyers on every surface she could find. David tried to be supportive, but grief consumed him differently. He withdrew, stopped talking, started drinking. By 1990, their marriage was over. Jennifer moved into a small apartment, took a job at the local library, and continued her solitary mission, finding Lily. Detective Carter, meanwhile, kept the case file on his desk. Even after he was assigned other cases, even after the department officially designated Lily's case as cold, he couldn't let it go. Every few months, he'd pull out the file and review it again, looking for something, anything, he might have missed. The white van, the missing camera, the 3 rolls of undeveloped film found in Lily's camera bag. Wait, the film. Carter sat up straight in his chair. He pulled the evidence log, scanning through the list of items collected from the scene. The film had been processed as part of the initial investigation. The photos were mundane: ducks on the pond, trees, other kids playing. Nothing suspicious. But Carter had a thought. What if Lily had loaded a 4th roll of film into her camera before she disappeared? What if that roll, the one that wasn't in her bag, contained photos of her abductor? It was a long shot, but it was something. He made a note to check with local photo development shops. Maybe someone had tried to develop film from a camera they'd stolen or found. It would take years before that note led anywhere, but when it finally did, it would crack the case wide open. Part 2. 12 Years of Silence. The 1990s passed in a blur of false hopes and crushing disappointments. Jennifer Morrison became a fixture in the missing children advocacy community. She attended conferences, connected with other families, learned about child trafficking networks and predator patterns. What she learned terrified her. Thousands of children disappeared in America every year. Most were found, runaways who came home, custody disputes, misunderstandings. But a small percentage simply vanished, and an even smaller percentage were never found at all. Jennifer learned about the gray area, children who were kidnapped not for ransom, but for exploitation. Kids who were moved across state lines, given new identities, hidden in plain sight. She learned that most child abductions happened in the first hour. If a child wasn't found in the first 24 hours, the chances of recovery dropped dramatically. After a week, most cases went cold. After 12 years, most people assumed the child was dead, but Jennifer refused to believe it. "I would know," she told Detective Carter during one of their monthly phone calls. "A mother would feel it if her child died. I don't feel that. I feel like she's out there, waiting for someone to find her." Carter didn't have the heart to tell her that what she was feeling was hope, not intuition. That the mind could create elaborate defenses against unbearable grief. Instead, he just said, "I'm still looking, Jennifer. I promise." And he was. Even after he retired from the Clearwater Police Department in 1995, Carter continued working Lily's case as a private investigator. He traveled to other states, following up on old leads. He attended FBI seminars on child abduction. He built relationships with detectives working similar cases. In 1997, He stumbled onto something interesting. He was at a conference in Denver when he met Detective Maria Santos from Albuquerque. She was working a case involving a 12-year-old boy named Ryan Torres who disappeared from a soccer game 3 years earlier. "White conversion van," Santos said when Carter told her about Lily's case. "Same description. A witness saw Ryan talking to a man near a white van before he vanished." They compared notes. The similarities were striking. Both children taken in broad daylight from public places. Both cases had witnesses who'd seen white vans. Both children were around the same age. "There's a pattern here," Carter said, "but I don't know what it means." Santos pulled out a file. "There are 6 other cases in the western states with similar characteristics, all between 1985 and 1995, all unsolved." Carter felt a chill. "We're not dealing with one abduction. We're dealing with a serial predator, or a network." They spent the rest of the conference building a profile. Whoever was taking these children was organized, careful, and mobile. They didn't leave evidence. They didn't make mistakes. But Carter believed everyone made mistakes eventually. You just had to be patient enough to catch them. Part 3. The Photograph. June 2000, Interstate 80, Nevada. Tom Bradley was a long-haul trucker who'd been driving cross-country routes for 20 years. He'd seen a lot of strange things at rest stops over those 2 decades, but nothing quite like what he found that humid afternoon in June. He'd pulled into a rest area outside of Elko, Nevada, needing coffee and a bathroom break. The place was mostly empty, just a couple of cars and one dusty RV parked in the far corner. Tom used the restroom, grabbed a coffee from the vending machine, and was walking back to his rig when something caught his eye. There was a Polaroid photograph lying on the ground near the trash cans. Tom almost walked past it, but something made him stop and pick it up. What he saw made his blood run cold. The photograph showed 2 children, a teenage girl and a younger boy, sitting on what appeared to be the floor of a van. Their hands were bound with zip ties. Their mouths were covered with duct tape. Their eyes were wide with terror. The girl looked directly at the camera with an expression Tom would never forget. Not just fear, but a desperate, pleading awareness. Like she was trying to send a message. Tom's hands were shaking as he ran to the payphone and called 911. "I need to report something," he said when the dispatcher answered. "I think I just found evidence of a kidnapping." Within an hour, the rest stop was swarming with police. Tom gave his statement, turned over the photograph, and provided a description of the vehicles that had been there when he arrived. The photograph was sent to the FBI's field office in Las Vegas for analysis. What they discovered would break the case wide open. The forensic analysis revealed several crucial details. The photograph was relatively recent, developed within the past few months based on the film stock used. The interior visible in the background matched a specific type of conversion van popular in the late 1980s and 1990s. There was writing on the back of the photograph, barely visible, written in what appeared to be eyeliner or makeup. "Help us. We're still here. LM. LM." The FBI ran the photograph through their database of missing children. The match came back within 24 hours. The teenage girl in the photograph was Lily Morrison. 12 years older than the last photograph taken of her, but unmistakable. The same auburn hair. The same distinctive pattern of freckles. The same intense eyes. She was alive. Part 4. The Awakening. When Detective James Carter got the call from the FBI, he thought he was dreaming. "We found her," the agent said. "Or at least, we found evidence that she's alive." Carter sat down heavily in his chair. "You're sure? You're absolutely certain?" "Forensics ran facial recognition. It's her, Lily Morrison. She's approximately 22 years old in the photograph. Which means she's been alive all this time." Carter called Jennifer Morrison that same day. "Jennifer, I need you to sit down," he said when she answered. "You found her." It wasn't a question. Jennifer's voice was completely steady, as if she'd been waiting for this call for 12 years. "We found evidence that she's alive. A photograph. I'm coming to show it to you, but I need to warn you. It's difficult to see. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Then, bring it. I don't care how difficult it is. I need to see my daughter. 2 hours later, Carter sat in Jennifer's small apartment, watching her study the Polaroid photograph. Jennifer's hands trembled as she held it. Tears streamed down her face. But her voice was firm when she spoke. That's Lily. I'd know her anywhere. She pointed to a small scar near the girl's left eyebrow. She got that when she was 6. Fell off her bike. See the way she's looking at the camera? That's the same expression she used to get when she was trying to tell me something without words. She flipped the photograph over and saw the writing. Help us. We're still here. LM. She signed it, Jennifer whispered. She wanted people to know who she was. She left a clue. Carter nodded. The FBI is treating this as an active kidnapping case now. They're bringing in specialists from the Crimes Against Children unit. They're going to find her, Jennifer. We're going to find her, Jennifer corrected. After 12 years, I'm not sitting on the sidelines. The FBI investigation moved quickly. They interviewed Tom Bradley extensively, trying to determine which vehicle the photograph might have come from. Tom remembered 3 vehicles: his own truck, a silver sedan with California plates, and a white RV with Arizona registration. The RV. Within 48 hours, the FBI had traced the registration. It belonged to a man named Vincent Hale, 63 years old, registered address in Tucson, Arizona. When agents went to the address, they found an empty lot. The house had been torn down 6 months earlier. But Vincent Hale had a history. He'd been investigated, but never charged, in connection with child abuse allegations in California in 1984. He'd worked as a traveling maintenance contractor for schools and youth facilities across the western states. He'd lived in Clearwater, Washington, in the summer of 1988. This is our guy, the lead FBI agent told Carter. We just need to find him. The manhunt for Vincent Hale became national news. His photograph was broadcast on every major network. Tips flooded in from across the country. But days turned into weeks with no solid leads. Then, in early July, a woman named Diane Patterson called the FBI hotline. I think I know where he is, she said. Or at least where he was. My ex-husband worked with Vincent Hale in the early 1990s. He used to talk about this property Vincent owned in Montana, way out in the middle of nowhere, some kind of compound. She gave them an address, an isolated property near the Canadian border, registered under a shell corporation. The FBI raid happened at dawn on July 18, 2000. What they found there would shock the nation. Part 5. The compound. The property was 40 acres of dense forest, surrounding a cluster of dilapidated buildings, a main house, 2 smaller cabins, and a large barn. The FBI tactical team approached carefully, weapons drawn, expecting resistance. But the compound was eerily quiet. They breached the main house first. Empty, same with the cabins. But when they opened the barn, they found something that made even the most hardened agents stop in their tracks. The barn had been converted into living quarters, rows of small, cell-like rooms separated by plywood walls. Each room contained a cot, a bucket, and nothing else. And in one of those rooms, they found her. Lily Morrison was sitting on a cot, knees drawn to her chest, staring at the wall. She was emaciated, her hair matted, wearing clothes that were far too large for her thin frame. When the agents entered, she didn't move, didn't speak, just kept staring. Lily, one of the agents said gently. Lily Morrison? We're here to help you. You're safe now. Lily's eyes slowly focused on the agent. She blinked, as if seeing sunlight for the first time in years. My name is Melissa, she said quietly. That's what he called me. I don't remember being Lily. The agents found 3 other young people in the compound, all in similar condition, all with the same blank, traumatized expressions. Vincent Hale was not there, but evidence of his presence was everywhere. Photographs, documents, restraints. a darkroom for developing Polaroid pictures. And in a locked filing cabinet, they found something that explained everything. Files, dozens of them, each containing information about a missing child. Photographs, newspaper clippings, handwritten notes about where and when each child had been taken. Lily Morrison's file was there. So was Ryan Torres's. So were files for 23 other children who disappeared across the western United States between 1982 and 1999. This wasn't just one predator. It was a systematic operation that had been running for nearly 2 decades. Epilogue, the last photograph. 2 years after her rescue, Lily Morrison, she'd reclaimed her real name, though she still sometimes introduced herself as Melissa, sat in her mother's living room, looking through old photo albums. Jennifer sat beside her, patiently explaining each photograph. This was your 8th birthday party. This was the day we went to the beach. This was your last day of 4th grade. Lily studied each image carefully, trying to match them with the fragmented memories that therapy had slowly uncovered. She'd made remarkable progress. The nightmares were less frequent now. She could sleep with the lights off. She could be in enclosed spaces without panicking. But there were still gaps, whole years of her childhood that were just gone, replaced by memories of the compound, of Vincent Hale, of the person she'd been forced to become. "Mom?" Lily said suddenly. "Yes, honey?" "I want to take a photograph of us, together." Jennifer smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "I'd like that very much." Lily set up her camera, a new digital model, nothing like the old Nikon from her childhood. She positioned it on a tripod, set the timer, and sat down next to her mother. "Smile," Lily said. The camera flashed. When Lily looked at the result on the screen, she saw what she'd been searching for. 2 women, mother and daughter, their resemblance undeniable, sitting close together. Jennifer's arm around Lily's shoulders, both of them looking at the camera with expressions that were tired, but hopeful. Survivors. "This is the photograph I want people to see," Lily said. "Not the one from the rest stop, not the one from the compound. This one. Us. Together. Home." She posted it online with a caption. 2 years ago, someone found a photograph of me that saved my life. Today, I'm sharing a different photograph, one that shows what survival looks like. To everyone who's still searching for someone they love, don't give up. Miracles happen. Lily Morrison. The post went viral. Within days, thousands of people shared it. Families of missing children reached out, finding hope in Lily's story. Tips poured into police departments across the country. And 3 months later, those tips led to the discovery of 2 more survivors from Vincent Hale's network, now adults who'd been living under false identities for years, who hadn't known they'd been taken until investigators showed them photographs from their real childhoods. Detective James Carter, now in his 70s and fully retired, called Lily when he heard the news. "You did it," he said. "That photograph you shared, it broke 2 more cases wide open." "We all did it," Lily corrected. "You never gave up. My mom never gave up. And somewhere inside me, that 10-year-old girl with a camera never gave up either." Carter was quiet for a moment. Then, "What are you going to do now? With your life?" Lily had been thinking about that question for months. "I'm going to become a photographer," she said. "Not just for art, for justice. I want to use photography to find missing people, to document stories that need to be told, to make sure no one else disappears without someone looking for them." "Your mother would have been proud," Carter said. "Is proud," he corrected himself. "I know," Lily said. And for the first time in years, she smiled. Author's note. This story is fictional, but inspired by real cases of long-term child abduction and trafficking in the United States. While the characters and specific events are invented, the underlying reality, that children can be held for years, that networks exist to facilitate these crimes, and that some survivors are eventually recovered, reflects genuine horrors that occur in the shadows of American society. The story reminds us of several important truths. Never stop looking. Families of missing children need support, not just in the first days or weeks, but for as long as it takes. Small clues matter. The Polaroid photograph in this story represents the countless small pieces of evidence that can break cases wide open if someone is paying attention. Recovery is possible. Not all stories have happy endings, but some do. Survivors can reclaim their lives, even after unimaginable trauma. Stay vigilant. Child predators often operate in plain sight. If something feels wrong, speak up. If this story moved you, subscribe to join us in telling more stories about justice, survival, and the people who refuse to let victims be forgotten. The end.